What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 31 Days of Horror. I am your host, Moon616, and thank you once again for stopping in, guys. Yes, 31 Days of Horror Volume 9, Day 21, of course, is live and direct. All right, so today we're going to take it back to 1996 with a film that I've been wanting to see for years, and when Synapse Films announced this, I was super stoked because I'm a big fan of the director, Mike Mendez. And this is one I had never seen. I'd pretty much seen all of his previous stuff to this. I really liked his film that he did in 2000 called The Convent, which Synapse Films also released. He also did a film that was part of the 8 Films to Die For. I think it was season, I can't remember, maybe 2 or something like that, but Grave Dancers. I absolutely love that one. I used to praise that for years after that one came out. I really liked that film. I know he did Big Ass Spider. He did Lavalantula, which might have been a sci-fi film. I'm not even 100% sure. I think I saw that when it was probably pretty stupid goofy. I know he did a segment in Tales from Halloween also. I did a film with Dolph Lundgren called Don't Kill It. And I think he did one a couple years ago called Satanic Hispanics, I want to say. And I haven't seen that one. So if you guys have seen that one, let me know. But, you know, for the most part, Mike Mendez has actually put out some pretty good stuff. But, yeah, The Convent kind of being like a Night of the Demons kind of rip-off. But it's very similar, but still enjoyable. So the film in question is from 1996. It's his very first film that he had done. And it's called Killers. Yeah, look at that artwork right there. It's pretty fascinating. Love that shit. But yeah, it's a film that I've been wanting to see for a long time. And I'm not even 100% sure if this even had much for releases before this or not. I can't remember. I think that's probably why I'd never seen it, because it just was kind of hard to see. But here we are in a beautiful Synapse Blu-ray. And yeah, so getting into the premise of this one. Basically, this one follows your brothers, the James brothers, Odessa and Kyle James. They basically, in the beginning of the film, break into their parents' bedroom and they shoot them up. They shoot the shit out of their fucking parents. Of course, they get caught. They go to jail. They're on death row. And basically, this all happens like in the first couple minutes of the film. Anyways, they end up breaking out of this maximum security prison in death row, which is highly unlikely, but, you know. Anyways, they break out of prison and they make their way into this town where they find themselves, you know, kind of holing up in this family's house, this father, wife, and their 2 daughters and stuff like that. We do learn some things about the daughters before, you know, they actually get to the house and stuff like that. So it starts to follow this family a little bit. And the girls are admitting that they're in love with the James brothers and stuff like that. They love what they're doing, and they're just kind of like sick, psychotic little weirdos and stuff like that. And yeah, so anyways, they get holed up in this house. There's a police investigation. Of course, there's a big manhunt for them. There's also murders that are happening within this town. So there's this guy cop and this woman cop that are investigating a certain murders that are happening also. So you got that kind of subplot that's happening too. Anyways, once they get to this house, all hell breaks loose there. And I'll just leave the synopsis of the film right there. Now, my thoughts on Killers. Now, Killers is a really interesting film because, man, I don't even know where to start with this one. So, I think what Mike Mendez was doing here. So, this film was made in 1996. And I can see so many different types of influences that are involved in the visuals and just the style of filmmaking here. So in 1996, so previously, you had, of course, David Lynch was a really big director, even around this point. You can see a lot of David Lynch influences within the style of filmmaking and stuff. Of course, this one's very talky. There's a lot of dialogue and stuff, and I feel like that is coming straight from kind of Tarantino. Tarantino was big with Reservoir Dogs, of course, with Pulp Fiction at the time. You know, it even has that kind of natural born killers element to it also. Of course, this being 2 brothers that killed their parents, it's got to be, the idea derives straight from the Menendez brothers that, of course, had killed their parents just a few years previous to this. So there's a lot of elements that it just, you know, all these things that it just happened, you know, with real life stuff and films and stuff that, you know, and then this is kind of like the product of that. And that's where I see a lot of influence. I even see influences from like film noir from back in the day. A lot of like the way, you know, the atmosphere and the way the lighting is and stuff and the way the transitions are with the smoking. There's a lot of close-ups with smoking and stuff. So there's a lot of elements being showcased within this film. And like I noticed right away, like the David Lynch and the Tarantino stuff that was going on. And I really don't have a problem with that. I think, you know, if you're going to mimic types of filmmakers and stuff, you might as well do ones that are really good at what they do. And I think that, Mike Bendis does a pretty good job of capturing quite a bit of those elements within this film. Now, as for the narrative, this is one of those type of films where I feel like the commentary is wearing itself, it's wearing its heart on its sleeve. I feel like it's totally about like how people in society glorify violence and how we become so obsessed with serial killers to the point where, we become fans of them. It's showcased with these girls, they're talking about how, they love the brothers and like what they're doing and stuff. And, it gets to the point even in the film where there's actually a commercial for action figures for the James brothers and stuff like that. So I think it's a commentary on how, people in society and how the media kind of glorifies violence in North America, especially with serial killers. And even today, I mean, we have all these, series that come out on Netflix. We've got the Ted Bundy ones, we've got the Dahmer, we've got, the Gacy's, and we've got fucking so on and so on and so on. I'm not saying it's glorifying, but it's just very popular. People are fascinated with serial killers. Me, of course, I was one of those people. Like, I remember the whole Dahmer thing that was happening when he got caught and stuff, and that story was just crazy to me. I think he's just one of the most fascinating serial killers. But we can't help as humans to be fascinated by what people do, like these awful things that people do. And of course, that's very, very prevalent here. Now, my biggest complaint with this film is not all the specs. I think most of the acting is really good. I think the cinematography is really interesting. The editing at times is really good, even though it's a little bit clunky at times. I feel like there's certain scenes within the film that are kind of like maybe missing or something. I don't know. It's funny how things kind of go from point A to point B and stuff like that. But I had no problem with it being really talky because I kind of like that angle of, especially Odessa's character. He's kind of like the older brother, and he's really into talking about, certain things. I'm not going to give everything away, but I do like the dialogue and how it kind of moves the plot along and stuff like that. I don't really have a lot of problem with that. I think my biggest complaint is this film just doesn't really know what it wants to be. In the end, it just has no idea what it wants to be. It starts out super serious with like these brothers killing their parents and then, going to this house and stuff. And then it starts to get a little bit quirky when you learn some things about the parents and the kids and stuff like that. And then, things just start shifting to the point where you're like, holy fuck, like, there is so many damn plot twists in this film. It's like ridiculous. It gets to the point where I'm like, okay, that's kind of interesting. No, that's kind of interesting. That kind of ties into that, and that kind of ties into that. But then it goes like one step further, and there's this one moment in the film where someone goes, "Who the fuck is Bob?" And I was like, "What the fuck?" And I'm not gonna give away the set. I actually laughed out loud at this. And then from that point on, when Bob is revealed, and then there's these other things. It's just like, what the hell are we doing here? And like, I really don't have a problem with, like a whole pile of crazy, like I have no problem with cannibal films, like zombie films, like even incest in films and like all those type of things. But like when you start just cramming certain elements into films where, it's like, I don't know if it's done for shock value, if it's done for comedic value, like, that's another thing about this film, that the tone is so off at times. Like, it's super serious and then it gets really goofy. There's this dinner, kind of like this breakfast scene, where a bunch of characters are sitting around and it is goofy as flying fuck. It goes from like one type of tone right into this, and you're just like, what the hell is going on? It's very entertaining because you really don't know what's going to happen next, because there's so many changes and plot twists within the film. You're just like, what the fuck? But I feel like when certain things are revealed in the third act, you're just like, why and what and how? Like, what the fuck is going on here? And there's actually one kind of angle, like the police investigation that's going on with these murders that are happening, not the manhunt for the brothers. But I feel like that doesn't really go where it probably should go. I mean, obviously you can figure out what the hell's going on and stuff like that. But I feel like that just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of mashes with the other investigation and stuff. It's just, I don't know, it's a little bit messy. The storytelling is a little bit messy here at times. But, I mean, there's still a lot of really good elements here. I just feel like this could have been a lot better. It really, really could have been a lot better if things were just kind of, especially in the third act. I feel like some of the editing is so wonky, like I said, and it kind of throws you off a little bit as to what's going on. So I did watch the alternate ending. It's basically just kind of like a dumbed down version of what really, like what you see in the director's cut ending versus the one that the alternate ending is. And I'm like, well, that's fucking stupid, because they cut out a couple scenes that you're just like, oh yeah. I mean, that's actually kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna get into a tiny bit of spoilers here, so if you guys want to turn off the video. So this is one of those weird films where everything seems very kosher and stuff like that until you get a first reveal where the parents are and the daughters and stuff like that. This whole family is not what they seem to be. They're not your all-American family. They're way too much into serial killers. In fact, they might even be serial killers themselves. They're kind of on that level. And, you know, I mean, it gets to the point where, you know, we have, you know, the wife character, she's getting with one of the brothers, and you got one of the other brothers who's getting with the older daughter. You got all this craziness. And then you have this young girl. She's like a 12-year-old girl that's batshit fucking insane sick herself. But, you know, like, of course, you know, and then there's reveals with the parents and, like, yeah, you know, they're not exactly what they are. But then there's more to it. Like, there's this, what they have going on in the basement. I'm not going to reveal everything, but then there's like, okay, so this is going on. And then it goes one step further, and then it just goes one step further in the end. You're just like, what in the flying fuck is going on in this film? Yeah, it goes into like cannibal territory, goes into like mutant territory, like almost like zombified, like, you know, the whole town may be in on this shit and stuff like that. It just, there's so many reveals in the last like 25 minutes of this film. You're just like, your fucking head is shaking. It's just absolutely batshit insane. But again, going back to the fact where I don't feel like this film really knows what it wants to be, is all because of what's happening. You're just like, okay. It's like, it's a lot. It's a lot. There's one line in this film that just caught me right off guard. You know, after she's making fun of the one brother for not pleasing her as well, you know, with a small penis and stuff like that. And she's like, yeah, my dad's better. And I'm just like, what? What the fuck? It's ridiculous. But anyways, I mean, that's, you know, there's spoilers in there, but I'm not going to give everything away. But this one just really kind of like, it starts out so good. Like, I love the whole, when they show up at this house, it's got this whole film noir kind of thing going on with the police investigation. The cinematography, the atmosphere, the smoking, the soundtrack is really good. And, you know, I really like the characters and everything. But it gets to the point in the film where you're like, everybody in this film is batshit insane. And I guess that's probably the point that Mike Mendes was trying to make. It's like, there is no good people. Maybe it's a very nihilistic type approach to filmmaking too, where he's like, yeah, everyone's fucked. Everyone's fucked. Even the, you know, even though you think you're normal sitting at home watching the news, but you're really rooting for, you know, the Menendez brothers to get off and stuff, you know, like, it's just crazy shit like that. But I actually really enjoyed the film. I just think it's a messy film. It's very, very much entertaining. I would watch this again, you know, very soon, actually. I think this would be a fun one to watch with your buddies too, because, you know, it's not like something you got to sit down and overanalyze, and, you know, and it's not a total mindfuck. It's just a trippy film and what happens and all these different type of reveals and shit. It's just crazy. It's batshit insane. So I'm gonna give Killers a solid 7.5 out of 10. I really do like when they like end up painting their faces, which that's another scene in the film that now it triggers my memory, is that all of a sudden they're just like, they got their faces painted. I'm like, the fuck? It's just like they're down in this basement, all of a sudden they're just doing, like, there's kind of clunkiness like that to the film where I'm just like, okay, I guess so. But I will say it looks fantastic. The Blu-ray looks really, really good. The colors pop on this and stuff like that. So it's funny because it says on the back that it's 96 minutes. It only runs like 90 minutes. So I don't know what's up with that. It's just maybe it's printing error. I'm not 100% sure, but it does say it's the unrated director's cut. I think that the theatrical, maybe it played in the festivals. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, it says full glory and uncut available for the first time on disc in high definition. Okay, so I might have had it released before. I'm not actually 100% sure. So, but anyways, Killers from 1996. Pretty good film. I could see myself going up on it and kind of being a little bit more forgiving on the clunkiness of the editing and just kind of a little bit of the storytelling. But it is comedic. It's goofy at times. There's so many tonal changes in this that it might throw off a little bit of people. I can totally see that, because if you're thinking it's going to be like super serious and it goes completely the opposite in tone, yeah, I can see that kind of putting off people. But anyways, I still think it's worth the watch. And yeah, that's going to conclude Killers from 1996 here. For day 21, yeah, we're going, yeah, stay tuned for day 21. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Check you guys later. And as usual,